Slightly edited background, few jerseys there. Don't have an iron, but certainly have decorations. Welcome to JB's NBA. Justin here. And again, continuing on with division predictions and outlooks for the 2019-2020 season. We've done the Atlantic Division, so I figure it's time we move on to the Central Division, previewing Milwaukee, Indiana, Detroit, Chicago, and Cleveland. So without further ado, let's get into it. And we'll start with the Milwaukee Bucks. Milwaukee obviously reaching the Eastern Conference Finals, going down in 6 games to the Toronto Raptors, the eventual champions last year. The Bucks, the only 60-win team on the season, however, just weren't able to get the job done. And again, fell victim to Kawhi Leonard, who had one of the all-time better playoff runs, certainly of the 21st century, let alone the last 30-odd years. Anyway, we'll go through Milwaukee's lineup. I think the best 5 they can put on the floor is Bledsoe, Wes Matthews, Chris Middleton, Giannis Antetokounmpo, the reigning defending MVP, and Brook Lopez. I think that will be their starting 5. 4 decent players off the pine as well in Ersan Ilyasova, George Hill, Robin Lopez, and Mirza Teletovic. John Lure, Pat Connaughton, Sterling Brown, DJ Wilson, Dragan Bender, Dante DiVincenzo, I believe it is. Dante DiVincenzo. We'll go with that. Dante DiVincenzo, apologies if I have that wrong. And that would be Thanos Antetokounmpo also on the roster there. So that one running 16, 17 deep. And again, these rosters are correct as of the time I'm looking at them, recorded or pre-recorded, obviously. And again, that's a 16-man roster. And this is all dependent on who's on the roster, who's on the salary cap, etc. As you can see, a reasonably deep lineup there, going 9 deep with decent rotations there. As I said, best 5 I feel is Bledsoe, Matthews, Middleton, Antetokounmpo, and Lopez 1 through 5, with Ilyasova, Hill, Lopez, and Teletovic coming off the pine. A little bit of help there as well across the rest of the roster, but again, potentially 9 deep from a roster standpoint, and personally would almost have to be my pick to come out of the East. They do lose a little bit of shooting and a little bit of seniority there, but again, a 60-win team last year, there's no reason why they can't do it again. Got to expect that Giannis has improved, that guys like Chris Middleton being an all-star as well, Bledsoe being able to play, Robin Lopez having played a little bit as well, George Hill, getting over his woes in Cleveland, don't know whose fault that was. Teletovic, a capable rotation player. Ilyasova again, capable rotation. So they've got a pretty decent squad there. I'm about to get to Giannis. I meant the Bucks, but Giannis himself really needs to get over his shooting woes. I mean, at the end of the day, when it came to the fourth quarter, when it came to the crunch, the guy taking the jump shots for this team, delivering down the stretch last year, Chris Middleton. That's why he was an all-star. That's why he was, I'm pretty sure he was on the defensive team. Should have been if he certainly wasn't. I don't know why that's not on the top of my head at the moment. But a capable all NBA player as well. And Middleton, they want to be thankful that Middleton wanted to wrap up a contract with them as well. Him and Giannis can complement one another. But Giannis, if he's going to be that star, again, 27, 12, and 6 essentially on the season last year. A capable defender, we all know that. Arguably the best all-around player in the game. He needs to lift. He needs to start hitting those jump shots, because come the fourth quarter, teams are just going to start isolating on him. If they continue to do that, could be problems for the Bucks. Again, potentially running 9 deep consistently across. But again, Giannis needs to get out of his shooting woes. He needs to improve that jumper. Slowed show progression last year, but needs to do that a hell of a lot more. So the Bucks there again, running 9 deep, capable of going, in my opinion, to the NBA Finals again. Capable back-to-back champions. Giannis has that max contract coming up very soon, which he does get due to his MVP performance, but I want to see him improve on that jumper. Again, that could see him grab 30, 32 points a game, particularly in this league. That wouldn't be hard. 32, 12, and 6, if that isn't going to win you an MVP, I don't know what is. Next team to look at here is Indiana. Indiana's lost a little bit of depth. Again, they had some injury worries last year as well with Victor Oladipo. They continued to somehow still win and push through. And again, that's why I think Nate McMillan, very unsung as a coach, and to me would have to be a close look for Coach of the Year. Unfortunately, though, I think they're really top-heavy, and outside of their first 6 players, I don't know whether they'll do too much. Again, there's a lot of talk going around at the moment with several teams, so whether this roster's final by the time we get to the season, who knows? I'll cover that as it happens. But I'm going to suggest the starting 5 is going to be Brogdon, Malcolm Brogdon, Victor Oladipo, Jeremy Lamb, Domantas Sabonis, and Miles Turner. Certainly going to be their starting 5. Miles Turner up there with Defensive Player of the Year candidacy last year. Malcolm Brogdon, a former Rookie of the Year, thought that should have gone to Joel Embiid back then. Nonetheless, Brogdon, a former Rookie of the Year, and was a key rotation to the Bucks last year. Victor Oladipo, we know how important he is, a 25-5-5 guy, capable on both ends of the floor, able to hit the big shot. Again, slowly becoming a superstar in this league. Jeremy Lamb, he's bounced around the league a fair bit, going from team to team to team. So he's going to want to look to stabilise a little bit here, and I think you can find a spot. And Domantas Sabonis certainly had the potential to become a six-man of the year last year, got more rotational minutes as the injuries piled up. But don't get me wrong, I think he's going to have earned a starting lineup here. Rotating through for the rest of this lineup is going to be TJ Warren, Doug McDermott, Aaron Holiday, Jakar Sampson, TJ Leaf, Edmund Summergy, CJ Wilcox, Elise Johnson, Jakeenan Grant, and Godja Bitadez. And again, they're just a really top-heavy team, a very top-heavy team. And they're potentially going to be relying too much on some outside shooting as well. Capable of getting inside, there's no doubt about it, but one thing the Pacers have specialised on in previous years, certainly throughout the history as you have a look, is having that outside shot. Now, they are very top-heavy, so they're going to really need to rely on their jumper to fall more consistently this season. How that goes with a very top-heavy, a starting lineup-heavy sort of squad's going to be interesting. In saying that, Nate McMillan seems to be a very good coach. He's capable of getting the most out of his lineup. They showed that last year. With Victor Oladipo back in the squad, hopefully well rested. Sabonis with a good year under his belt. Turner with a good year under his belt. Brogdon being able to get more of a starting role here. I don't see why the Pacers still can't be able to scrape 7th or 8th seed in the East. McMillan's got a bit of a coaching job to do, and the boys certainly have a fair bit of lifting to do, heavy lifting to do there in Indiana, but there's no reason why I don't think they can do it. Again, 7th or 8th seed, certainly not out of the realm of possibility, but I certainly don't see them going any higher. Next team to preview here are the Detroit Pistons, who've made some noise across the essentially across the off-season here. I think the best 5 they're going to get out of this is Derrick Rose, Bruce Brown, Markieff Morris, Blake Griffin and Andre Drummond. Again, all players other than Brown, who's looking to improve his stock across the league to improve there. Reggie Jackson, I think, might relish coming into this lineup, and they might move Brown to the bench. However, I just think if you're going to go a 1 through 5 lineup, add a bit of size, add a bit of depth. I don't know whether you can run Derrick Rose and Reggie Jackson as a combination guard there. Be very interesting to see. I mean, you could potentially move Rose to the 2 and have Jackson do the 1. I mean, that's not out of the realm of possibility either. But we'll have to see how it goes. Outside of that 5, obviously, Reggie Jackson, Bruce Brown, it could be alternating there. You'll have Luke Kennard, Langston Galloway, and Tony Snell. So I think they run potentially 8-9 deep there. Tim Fraser, Thon Maker will be very interesting again at capable rotation. So could even run, 10 deep there, 9 consistently. Christian Wood, we have Mike Harliuk, Vidislav Mikhaliuk. He will be interesting, obviously a European player, see how that goes there. Christian Wood, Kyrie Thomas and Sekou Doumbouya. Sekou Doumbouya. And again, a lot of this is going to be, interesting to see. Again, I don't see Detroit running much deeper than going much outside of their 12 rotation there, as you can see. But again, potentially 9 deep, but it's going to depend on the health of D. Rose, Blake Griffin, and the potential of Andre Drummond. While mentioning that they can go, potentially 9-10 deep when you throw in a Thon Maker there. The health of D. Rose is going to be critical. This is going to be his best step from a potential, 6-man of the year honours that he probably should have had last year. Was massive for the T-Wolves, had a career-high 50 points, and again, a real emotional comeback story. Arguably the story of the year, season 2018-2019. But again, able to relish that starting role. I mean, this is a guy who should be looking at getting paid $250, $260 mil on a contract, and due to injury and circumstances on 2 years, $20 mil. So a lot of fire on the backside there of Derrick Rose. He is from Chicago, so don't doubt it. He will come out and he will ball hard. Markieff Morris, a capable player, one of the Morris brothers there. Blake Griffin, again, health is going to be a big key there. How does he play? Can he go back to being a guy to grab 10 rebounds a game, still have 20, 25 points? Shooting is obviously there now. Defense probably needs to lift as well. Andre Drummond, capable rebounder, probably the best rebounder in the league when you think about it. Capable defender as well. I think his scoring needs to go up a bit, but when you've got a guy who can't shoot 50% from the stripe, good luck with that. Again, you got Reggie Jackson, Luke Kennard, Langston Galloway and Tony Snell able to balance out some of your fast-paced movement, a bit of shooting there, and a little bit of D as well. So, again, this is a potentially 9-deep roster here for Detroit, one of the better rosters they've assembled, arguably for the decade, so it's going to be interesting to see how they go there. But health of D Rose and Blake Griffin is huge, and the consistency of Andre Drummond. Again, I think Detroit can make the playoffs. There should be no doubt about it that Detroit make the playoffs with this kind of team. How far they go is another question. You know, they're going to be a 6th to 8th seed, I feel. I mean, potentially could crack the top 4. Everything falls in line and the stars align and everyone plays to their potential. There's no reason why they can't be a top 4 in the East, but I think they're going to settle in that bottom 4 range, that, 6th, 7th, 8th seed range there in the East. Meanwhile, we've got the last 2 teams here in Chicago and Cleveland. Chicago, best 5, probably going to run with a Chris Dunn, Zach LaVine, Otto Porter, Lauri Markkanen, and a Wendell Carter Jr. for their 5 there. And again, plenty of potential, as you can see. Chris Dunn, an explosive guard. Zach LaVine, we already know about his athleticism. Otto Porter, having been sort of tied up in a bit of drama down there in Washington, the Bradley Beal, John Wall, incohesionness seems to go there. I mean, we'll talk about Washington in another video. I don't think they've got much to offer this season. I mean, they could, but I don't see much happening there. It's just going to be interesting to see how he plays in a different setup there. Lauri Markkanen, he's been playing really well the last year and a bit, last 2 years. I mean, he's a young guy really making his way in the league. His 3-point shooting for a big is very good as well, sort of a Dirk Nowitzki throwback there. Wendell Carter Jr., a big that's developing. And Thaddeus Young coming across from Indiana, again, another thing for Indiana, losing just that extra little bit of depth as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how he gels. Thomas Satoransky, Denzel Valentine, Antonio Blakeney, Luke Cornett, Sidiakano, Ryan Arcidiacano, Shaquille Harrison, Chandler Hutchison, Cristiano Felicio, and Kobe White rounding out the roster there for Chicago. And again, they're going to be young, they're up and coming, they're exciting. I don't expect them to make the playoffs, but again, some positives there in Chicago, the athleticism that's floating around. They're going to have to gel these egos together, gel these young guys together and understand what it's all about. I think the fire and the passion is there. Again, I don't see Chicago doing too much outside of their top 6 players in their roster. And again, they're able to provide a little bit there, but lacking a lot of senior leadership amongst that group. And that's going to be a big factor as well. Again, can see them doing a little bit, exciting-wise, might be able to push sort of around that 30-win mark. But not much else going for Chicago, unfortunately. Again, just a young side that's going to be really exciting to watch athletically, and hopefully they can develop quickly. And finally, we get to Cleveland. Colin Sexton, Jordan Clarkson, Larry Nance, Kevin Love, Tristan Thompson would be my back for their best 5 they can put on the floor. Cedi Osman coming in there. Again, that's their top 6. Clarkson, Sexton and Nance, capable players. We've seen them play. Sexton had a great rookie year. Clarkson's been capable for the last few years. Larry Nance also, but they've been limited under their roles in different teams and circumstances, so you can sort of put 2 and 2 together there. Everyone knows what Kevin Love can do. I think he's got 1 or 2 good years left in him. Then that would be about it. You've got to start to think, he's in that 10, 11 year. He's been restricted, mental health issues, fitness issues, all that sort of stuff. Tristan Thompson hasn't came about to where he needs to be. This is a guy that's going to push 10 and 10 consistently, maybe. Cedi Osman and Ante Zizic coming off the bench. Going to be interesting to see what happens there. Then on top of that, you've got a Brandon Knight, a Matty Dellavedova, John Hanson, Jerome Martin, Darius Garland, Dylan Wandler, Kevin Porter Jr. and Levi Ralph rounding out that roster, and they need to make a play for a serious playmaker for all their shooters, to be honest with you. Colin Sexton, a capable guard. He's reasonably explosive and likes to do things his own way. And again, you've got Jordan Clarkson, Larry Nance, Kevin Love, Tristan Thompson, Cedi Osman. I mean, all of these guys are outside shooters, and this has been developed from the LeBron mould only maybe 2 years ago. LeBron gets a lot of shooters and forwards around him that can sort of make up on the defensive end and really get the shots up as he'd penetration dribble, kick the ball out. Again, that's just something that Cleveland unfortunately fell victim to. And again, when you get rid of the guy who's distributing the ball and playing to a certain style, you can't accept them to lift if you're not going to replace that piece. That piece has still not been replaced. But again, there's a lot of capability there. I enjoy watching Jordan Clarkson going about his basketball. Colin Sexton is a really good basketball player. Not a fan of Tristan Thompson. I don't know whether that's a lot of media hype there, but just something I can't warm to the guy. Colin Sexton, as I mentioned, a good rookie player as well. So there's a little bit there. Brandon Knight has had a tough few years, so to see him come off the bench and hopefully deliver a little bit would be good. He was really starting to push the pace a little bit out there in Phoenix until he got injured again, had some good games as well in Detroit. So it's going to be interesting to see how he goes. but I don't see too much coming of this Cleveland side. 30 wins, great. That'll be awesome. They might even lift a little bit more. I don't see them making the playoffs, however. And yeah, the Atlantic Division for me, has been done. The Central Division, I should say, pretty much looks like that. If I was going to base it on how I see it from the Central Division, I'd say Milwaukee take the division out ahead of Detroit, Indiana. And unfortunately, Cleveland and Chicago just don't make the playoffs. In what order, I don't know. Again, they need a really good distributor to get to Cleveland and really hit some of those shooters up. That would change the aspect for me for Cleveland. They'd be capable from there, needing probably just a little bit more senior experience. And unfortunately for Chicago, they're young, they're athletic, they're going to be exciting, but they've got no senior leadership. And as we know, a lot of teams around the league and in history, you can be a young core if you want. If you don't have that senior leadership around you to stabilise the body, generally you don't get much out of it. So unfortunately, I don't see them doing much. So again, my final predictions for the Central Division in season 2019-2020 will be Milwaukee ahead of Detroit and Indiana. I feel that all three of those teams can make the playoffs. Detroit, the bottom four. Milwaukee, certainly a chance, and in my opinion, should be the Eastern Conference champion, whether that's a first seed or a second seed. And Indiana scraping around that 7-8 mark in the conference. Don't expect Chicago or Cleveland at all to make the playoffs. They may do, and they might shock me. Who knows? So that's two of the three divisions in the East done. Thank you very much once again to tuning in to JB's NBA. Again, like the page, leave a comment, let me know what you think. Again, the background's changed. Shout it if you want to sponsor me for an iron. Doesn't faze me. I'm sure you guys are entertained by the thought of that. Anyway, and yeah, again, thanks for tuning in. Stay tuned for more division predictions, more conference predictions, and probably general season prediction videos as we go ahead. Any news that comes to light with rosters and major news, I'll try and get it covered on here as well. But for the meantime, in the preseason, we'll just try and get through conference and division predictions and go from there. So again, JB's NBA on Facebook, Justin_G_Bryan on Twitter. You can also find my YouTube, Justin Bryan. I'm linking, crossing over my videos there. So when a video goes live on my Facebook, it's also live on my YouTube. You'll find links floating around there as well. Certainly some stuff floating around on my Instagram as well, here or there, and I'll share a few little tidbits as well. Again, thank you very much for tuning into the video. That has been my Central Division prediction for season 19-20, and we'll be back in a few days' time with my Southeast Conference prediction for the 2019-2020 season. Anyway, guys, that's been me. Take care. See you later.